You're listening to the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45. I'm excited tonight to have this young man on the show. I'm excited for all the comments that we've been getting and all the folks that are liking and subscribing on across all platforms. Really appreciate it. Please remember to go to B4evaKool.com. And you can get to everything from there as well. Check out our Patreon page as well, and help support the podcast by becoming a member. It really helps us, and if you like what we're doing, it'll allow us to continue to do what we're doing. So we'll appreciate it. Definitely if you sign up to the Patreon. But with no further ado, let's get it going. Jordan, man, welcome to the show, aka Fast Rider. How you doing tonight, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me, Rexy.
Anytime, man. I mean, it's you've been already on the show, so now we're gonna everyone's gonna get to know you a little bit more after this episode. So I'm excited for that, man. But like I do with every guest that comes on, man, let's talk about how you got into riding. What was your first memory of a motorcycle, or wanting one, or riding on one, or whatever the case, man? What made you decide to fall in love with two wheels, or maybe you don't have a choice, as they say with love?
Gotcha. So all the way back. I had my mom is one of three girls, and my grandfather only had one son, my Uncle Bubby. So I never met him when he was not in a coma, but he was one of the baddest man on two wheels. He could stand it up on one wheel and ride it a mile, they said. He could hit the curves. He always had the baddest bike. Always was locked and cocked, always ready to go. So one night he was riding with a friend. They never know what really happened. Long story short, he ends up going off the bike, hits a tree, ended up being in a coma for about 21 years. Wow. So in the coma, he could move his eyes, he can make sounds, but he could never, he was never correct. So I met him a couple times when he was in the coma. He eventually passed, and from them, naturally, my grandparents said I could never get a motorcycle. They never let me on two wheels. Little dirt bikes. I remember the best thing I could buy when I was about 16. I bought a little teeny pocket bike. And I thought that was the baddest thing ever. I was going up and down my cul-de-sac. I'm leaning off this thing. I'm thinking I'm Valentino Rossi, I'm telling you. And that was like my first, if I can't get a real bike, this is something. And then fast forward to I end up moving out. I joined the Marine Corps. I got stationed out in California. Right when I got stationed in California, I said, man, this is it. It's time to get a bike. So I went out and, got a couple bikes. I'm a big Yamaha guy. And I said, you know what? I'm going bigger. I'm going home. My first bike was a 2008 Yamaha R1. Everyone told me, you're going to kill yourself. Oh, you're going to I said, listen, I don't know what it is, but I'm meant to be on two wheels. That day, I was putting it on one wheel. I was carrying it, man. And from then, I was addicted. I respected the power. Kind of to a point, I did some foolish things. Luckily, I didn't have any crashes, but I ended up doing it right. From there, I started out doing a little bit of track days. I went to Chuckwalla Raceway. The Marine Corps had a really good program because I was broke at the time. And racing takes money, going to the track, all takes money. So the Marine Corps had a nice program at the time where if you wanted to go to the track, you submitted your paperwork. They would rent you the boots. They'd rent you a full suit, gloves, everything you needed to go to the track due to safety, because they had a lot of Marines that were dying on bikes. So they were all about it. So I said, oh, man, let me take this opportunity. So I went to Chuckwalla Raceway, my first track day, and I was absolutely addicted. I would hit the canyons on weekends with my buddies, and then I did the Jason Pridmore Racing School, and then I rode two up with Jason Pridmore on the rear of his bike, and I was the first one after the class the second day to go on his bike. He's on street tires. I remember he was on a Gixxer with fabricated handles into the tank so you could hold on. Man, talk about opening your eyes. And that's really the point that blew my mind and really let me know what a bike could do, because this guy was throwing this bike sideways. He's wheeling out of every single corner. He's backing it in. I'm slamming me down. My elbow's almost touching, and I'm on the back of this motorcycle, and the guy's on street tires. And he proceeded to do that with like 10 more guys back to back to back. And from that day on, I was like, oh man, let's go.
Right. So we'll get back to Marine Corps and California, but like, between the time of your uncle riding and crashing and passing and all that, were you into bikes? Were you watching like racing on TV or internet or any of that thing? Like, what was it? Or is it just kind of like, 16, you just got the bike, or were you current? Cause like, I mean, I used to get the European car magazines back in the day, and the Motor Trend, mostly European cars. I wasn't really, it was VW something before it was European cars, but like what was going on at that time for you? Before you got the R1.
It's gonna sound a little corny, but there was a movie that came out way back in the day. It's called, Biker Boys.
Yeah. Coming out.
I'll tell you that Biker Boys movie came out, and I was like, everything about it, being a motorcycle club, this and that, a lot of things. I don't know. It just hit for me, and I was like, man, if I'm ever out in California and I'm ever in that scene, that's what I would like to do. And I always watched MotoGP. I was a massive Rossi fan, so I started watching religiously from there. And then not much of a motocross. I was mostly always interested in street riding really just got me going,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, man. And then so being in the Marines, and you did a couple of classes now. Did you start racing, or were you just still at this point just doing track days and canyons, and whenever you can leave the base, have some fun?
Yeah, whenever I could leave the base, I would have some fun. I joined a three-piece MC when I was out there. We were the Endangered Species MC club. They had multiple chapters. A lot of the Marines in the California chapter. They have a couple South Carolina, North Carolina, and such. But I learned very quickly that racing took money and time. And I didn't have either when I was in the Marine Corps. And then when you're in the Marine Corps, it's simply the needs of the Marine Corps, So it was very hard to get away and be on my own schedule. Plus, I was also newly married. So, sneaking away to hit the canyons and maybe a track day or two, that was basically all I could do, sadly. So the passion's always been there. I've always dreamt in my head, hey, this is what I would love to do. It's just never kind of, everything's never fell into place.
Right. So then, so after, you got the bike and you're doing some track days and stuff like that. So have you raced, or you haven't raced yet?
I have not raced yet. I just strictly hit as many track days as I can. And I purchased my dream bike a year or two ago. I have a 2024 Yamaha R1M, and I have probably I have a good amount of money into it. I have every nook and cranny of that bike has been gone through by me.
Right. And so after the 2008, is there any bikes between that and your current, or how long did you have the 08 for?
I still have the 08 to this day. I'll never get rid of that bike. And I'm actually just, I'm bringing that bike back to life. After I got out of the Marines, I left out. I went to school to become a motorcycle mechanic. So I moved down to Florida. I went to MMI. I became certified in BMW, Yamaha, Polaris. I can touch any Harley under the sun. And then I moved back up north, with the high hopes of the dream of potentially one day, maybe, open up a shop or this and that. I found out really quickly in the Northeast, bikes, being a mechanic does not pay how I dreamt or of what my lifestyle kind of dictates. So
come down here, man, because there's a shortage of mechanics down in Florida. So, and we ride pretty much all year round. So
I hear you. It's a massive difference. Like if I stayed in California, that would have been ideal, or in Florida, most definitely, maybe in the Carolinas, that would have been good. But here up in the Northeast, unless you're big into like sleds in the off season and everything, man, it's a little tough. So then I end up using.
You gotta work for a dealership that can supply you at work, or
Exactly.
you gotta have enough. You have to be in the community enough that you can get enough work. So no, man, I got some mechanic friends, and I get it. Some of them work for themselves, some of them work for dealers. You know what I mean? And so it's a different mindset up north for sure. I think I've not been a mechanic there, so I can't say I've been through it fully. But just being as a customer, yeah, it's different because the season's so short, and it's just a different mindset. I think, and we're down here. The season's so long, but I don't want to sit here and say there's not a lot of good mechanics. I just haven't come across them yet. And so for me, that's been the hardest thing. And so I always, I encourage my buddies up north. I'm like, listen, man, come down here, man, because I don't know, I can't find anybody. Yeah. So, okay, man, that's what's up. So, it's interesting. Like I got my first bike in 2012. I probably got rid of it like a couple of years after. I've only had one bike that I've kept from the beginning till and still have. So 2013, I got 1198S, and I still have that bike. And that's a bike I probably would keep. So, man, I see people that can get like a car or a motorcycle and they have it and keep it. What made you just decide to keep the bike and not get something, get a 2014 or 2016 or any other bike? What made you just keep it so long?
Since it was my first bike, and since I, all my life I wanted a motorcycle, and then boom, I finally had one. And then I was always a Yamaha guy, and then boom, to have a R1. And then I like to tinker on bikes. So, I put the Toast 4-barrel exhaust on there, the thing with spit flames, I was an obnoxious young guy. At the same time, I would always customize my bikes. I'm a black, blue, carbon fiber is my thing. So if you see my 08 to my 24 R1M, they basically look identical. It was kind of meant to be. Motorcycles and customization is that is just where I like to be. That's what makes me happy. Tinkering, doing all my own work, and then being a little bit, not normal. I don't like to be flashy, but if you know bikes and you know it around, once you look at certain things, you're like, oh, wait a second. Those aren't the factory rims. Oh, wait.
Right.
The little things,
No, I completely agree. Speaking of, I guess I don't remember the exact term you said when you got your 24, but that's how I feel about my V4. And since I remember when I got my 1198S, I was sitting here saying, well, because it was just around a time when, electronics were coming more into bikes and stuff like that. And so I could have just gone straight full electronics, but I wanted something without it just to get a fuller understanding of what that felt like. So I was like, I'll just get this bike for a couple of months, not a couple of months, a couple of years or whatever the case may be. And then I'll get one of the Panigales. This was at the time it was still a V2. But I don't know. I got a 2025 V4. So a lot's happened between 2012, 2014 and 2025. But that's how I feel about it. And I ended up I didn't go with an S model or anything like that. And I went with the base model. I didn't want to, I thought about waiting for a year to get the R that just came out. But I went with the base, and I decided like you, I like to tinker, I build a few race bikes, partially, but not 100% as far as wrenching them and stuff like that. But this bike, it was just kind of like, this is the bike I'm gonna have for a bit. So, and I have subtle things on it. So that way, it's funny. I was just out on Sunday doing a ride, and we were still like gassing up and hanging out and stuff like that. and they were looking at my bike and it's a base model. So, but like one dude was just like, man, the more I look at your bike, the more things I noticed on it. That's cool because it's not stock, but it's not flashy. You know what I'm saying? But it got bits on it to say, okay, it's something. So that tinkering is something that, I was tinkering from my car days, much less on bikes and stuff like that. So now what made you stay with Yamaha? I mean, I like, for me, like, I don't know. I started with like, I've had a few brands. I mean, I've had the Hondas, I've had a Suzuki, I've had a Kawasaki, I haven't had a BMW, a couple of Ducatis, Aprilia, KTMs and stuff like that. So I'm a fan of bikes. So I have a few different bikes, but there's like, there's guys that just like Yamaha. There's one guy that come on the show, Smitty. He's a Honda guy, true and true. I think if you gave him any other bike, he probably would just trade in for a Honda. So, I know you said Rossi's your guy, but like, you didn't think about a BMW or a Ducati or anything like that. You're like R1M, which is a nice bike, and I hope to have one day. So, but like,
yeah. I've always been Yamaha through and through. But then when I worked at actually that's where I met Shakes when I worked at Mom South up in Foxborough. So I live all the way on the Cape, so I would have to commute all the way to Foxborough. So it's about an hour commute for me just to go wrench on bikes. So at the same time, they had a good amount of bikes over there. So I would treat Mom South in those motorcycles, and I had my own little loop that I would hit through the forest, through everything. I had my own little racetrack, and I would dog the hell out of so many different manufacturers, and man, some R3s, I'll tell you, I sent sideways right out of the box. Wow. Doing some crazy stuff. But I tell you, I got my fair share of riding all different mixes. And when I thought of my forever bike, I tell you, Ducati almost stole me multiple times. But then I just thought of, that's a lot of specialty tools that I would have to switch over. That I do like to wrench on my own things, and a lot of things I was like, are dealer specific. So I said, yeah, you know what? And also the price point was also a thing. Not that the R1M is cheap by any means.
I know, right?
And then from what I have into it, I basically have a base model R1 put into my R1M now that, like, when I put it down to brass tacks, which is kind of crazy to think about. But hey, you only live once, and you have passions. And so I figure you might as well go all out.
No, I agree. And I think that whatever your passion is, if you can seize the moment and get there, by all means, because as I think all of us we only get one go around. So you don't have to have a gang of them, but at least you have the one. And it's like I ride my I got over 4,000 miles on my B4. I've taken it to the track once, and it's like it still feels like like the first day. You know what I mean? It's like I get on that bike. It's not like, oh man. It's just like,
it's
still so much fun. It's still so much fun. Like it's like, and that's the same I feel about my 1198S as well. It's like they just, it's not. I don't go, oh, I got to go ride my bike. It's like, no, man, this thing is so much fun, and the more I ride it, the more fun I have. It doesn't get old. So I don't know if that's like that for you on the R1M. I don't think I've ridden a R1. I do have a R6, but not an R1. And since you've ridden a lot of different bikes, I mean, is that how you feel about the R1M, and how many miles you got on that thing?
So funny thing, my first one, I actually had a 2023 R1M, and that's the one in my picture on my profile. That's one of my best pictures I've ever taken. And that day was at New York Safety Track. It was my first day that I've ever gone there. And I had an absolute blast. That being said, about 3 sessions after that session was taken, mind you, in the morning they kept telling us about like a turn 3 bump. I don't know if you've ever been to New York Safety Track,
I have
but
not.
yeah, turn 3 they have a pretty good bump on the inside, right at the apex, that they warned us about in the morning. So you either go left or you go right. If you go right, it's about a 3-inch piece of tarmac, and then if you go right or to the left of it, you have to change your line and go really wide. Every single time I was diving to the inside, I had a Ducati V2 that came by me in a corner. Badass guy. So I said, oh, I'm going to follow this guy. So I followed him to turn 3. I followed his line going about maybe 20 miles an hour faster than my entry at any other given point. And I went to dive to the inside, and he took a nice wide line. Hence, he could have that much extra speed. I went to the inside, fully cocked over. Long story short, my front tire hits the bump, puts it in the air. I try to recover it. I stand it up, hit the grass. I did save it, but then I go careening straight into a tire wall. Next thing I know, I'm flying through the air. Bike's flying through the air, and that was not the funnest day that I've had. But the bike was actually okay, perfectly fine. And then I ended up taking it home. But then I found actually after I took it home, my own analysis, I found that the forks were bent. So from then, I ended up actually turning that bike into a brand new 2024 R1M.
Okay.
Now. So the miles are a lot lower now. I had it just the end of the season, so I probably only have about like 2,000 miles, maybe 2,500. She's barely broken in.
Gotcha. So now having what's the vision of the bike for you? I mean, so you're going to the New York Safety Track. I assume you're going to Loudon as well. Done track days there.
That actually, I have not been to Loudon. I'm actually in the market, and I'm looking at. I want to get a 600 because I do hear that Loudon is a lot better for like a 600 is better than a 1,000 to bring up there. I mean, you would know a lot better than me. But I am in the market, and I am looking. Actually, since we're talking about brands, I am in the market looking for an Aprilia RS 660. I think that'd be a nice little platform to have for a track only motorcycle, and who knows, maybe I could get into an older gentleman series up north and try to run. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I mean, you said 600. I know it is a 600, but it's a lightweight bike as far as racing. So I don't know if you'd want a middleweight bike, something like a R6 or a R9 or CBR 600, Kawasaki 639, Ducati, V2. Not to say you can't run the RS 660 in the middleweight class, but you're gonna more usually it's like the twin class. Like in Motor America, right? It's going to be R7s, some old 749s, some 1100 monsters, you know what I'm saying? Some SV650s, that kind of thing. Yeah, something which is still fun. Don't get me wrong, because I'm in the same boat. I have some ultra lightweight bikes and KTM RC390s race bikes, and I have a R6 as a race bike. But I like to run the RS660. I think that's a good balance between the R6 for me and the KTMs, because the KTMs they're great. They're more fun at smaller tracks than bigger tracks. At bigger tracks, when you're hitting the top of 6, it's not fun. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So yeah. So and so would you then race with the RS660? Do track days?
I would definitely look to do at the very minimum. I want to increase my track day output this year. I want to hit as many as I can. I do want to try to get down to Virginia. I keep on hearing VIR is a beautiful track. So I am up to doing some traveling, because up here it's very limited, as you know, to where we could go. So I'm looking for just as many tracks as I can, just, good tracks as well.
Right. So have you heard of Cycle Smith track days?
Yeah, that's actually where I went to New York. Safety track was through them. Yes,
right. Because they go to Palmer.
Very good people.
They go to Palmer, Thompson, and New York Safety Track. So at least there's 3 tracks up that way. I did a few track days with them. I did Thompson's with them. I did Palmer, but I didn't go to New York Safety with them. So I haven't been to New York Safety yet. But down here, where I am, I'm like 3.5 hours away from Homestead. 5 hours from Jennings, 3.5 hours from Daytona. So it's not bad. But up north, it's like Thompson and Palmer. Palmer's in Massachusetts, so that's not bad. Thompson's in Connecticut, so that's not bad either. So it's like,
did you enjoy more, Thompson or Palmer?
I think for me, when I went to Thompson, it was, I think, the second track I was on, and I think and so I didn't appreciate it as much, but because it was just new. And in hindsight, I'm just like, okay, it wasn't that bad of a track. I mean, it's bumpy in some sections for sure and stuff like that. Palmer. Palmer is up in the. Palmer is different, but it's up in the hills. So there's a lot more elevation changes,
undulations, and
yeah. You know what I mean? So I think the best thing to do is just to go though. I mean, there's not a listen, unless you can go to those 2 tracks on the same day. There's no bad tracks. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's you go learn it. I mean, they got there's gonna be they're gonna be some with more bumps than others. But Loudon, I grew up on Loudon. I like Loudon. I'm a fan of Loudon. So I think. When it's what and you're enjoying yourself there, it's hard to sit here and say you don't like it because you learn how to go fast on it. I find that if you can go fast at Loudon, you can go fast at a lot of these other tracks. I'm not saying that folks that start down here or in California or anywhere can't go fast at Loudon, but I find I hear more people don't like Loudon than I hear people. The locals love Loudon, but people that's gone and visit. I hear more people that complain about it and saying, "Yo, that's a dope track." So, if you grow up there, you love it. If you, don't get me wrong, you see guys that come up for the classic, and they go and these are pro riders, so obviously they can go fast on the track, and so from that standpoint, it's a fun track. But there are people who, rightly so, they don't feel comfortable. There's people that go to Daytona and don't feel comfortable seeing the Outer Banks. And so, there's different things that change people's perspective when they get there. But I like all the tracks. So I think, so up that way, I think Cycle Smith is a good organization. I've had them on the show individually. At some point, I think they will be back on together to kind of talk about the track days a little bit more and stuff like that. But I think that's a good organization. And I think they have like at least 7 rounds or something like that. So, you get a lot of track days, even if you're just doing one day and stuff like that. So, I think that's a good place to continue. But then if you can do a Penguin School with Eric Woods at Loudon as well, so you got those options up north, But yeah, as far as like a bike to look at, the RS660 is a good bike. Don't get me wrong. And that's, like I said, that's the bike I'm thinking about getting for my lightweight bike, and probably the bike that I continue to race on. I don't want to race in the middleweight class anymore. I did that for about, I guess, 6 years. But I'm leaving that for the younger people. It's a class where, it's not racing is not my full-time job. So I want to get home after the end of a weekend. Don't get me wrong. If I jack myself up, it's on me. But I don't, in the middleweight classes, there are some people, rightly so, they take chances that, I wouldn't take. And the sport is a sport where you sign a waiver saying, if I came in a paddock and flipped your bike over 100 times, you can't sue me. much less on the track. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you can do is just, you might get mad, you might want to fight, but even then you probably get arrested. But you can't, I'm not going to be responsible for your bike. We're all responsible for our own bike, regardless if someone else is at fault or not. So, after riding that many years in that class, I was just like, all right, let me get out of that class, because it's like I said, there's some people in that class that take more risks than skill set they have, and that was so the KTMs was great. Like the lightweight class, as young kids, it's older people like me, and it's a great class to learn how to carry more corner speed, keep your body position right, and stuff like that. So it was a lot of training for me, which was really great. And I've done that since 2021, 22. I was racing both bike in 21. So I was racing my R6 in 21 and KTM in 21, and the same thing in 22. In 23, I just rode the KTM only. And for that, and it's made me faster. So at the end of the day, like, even I just raced the Pan American Series back in March, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready for more speed now. And so it's like, so I'm like you, I'm like, all right, well, RS660 is probably the way to go. It's a fast enough, but I think there's still a lot of young people that would tend to jump in the 600 class versus the lightweight class. Not to say you can't jack yourself up in any of the classes. You sure can. You know what I mean? But most people want to be on thousands or 600s. You know what I'm saying? When you're young, it's like, I don't, because even when I started on the SV650 and I couldn't wait to get on an R6. It was like, oh man, all right.
I just want more,
Yeah. So, I did I did like a few rounds the first couple of years, and in 2015 I did a full round, and at the end of 15 on the SV I was like, all right, I'll move up to middleweight class, and so so it's a natural progression, and not to say I wouldn't race middleweight again, but at the moment, let me go see what happens in the lightweight class, and if I get bored with that, then maybe I'll go back to middleweight too. So I don't plan on getting rid of the bikes. It's just a matter of whether I'm going to go do it or not. So now, are you planning on tracking the R1M more? I'm
definitely coming back for some redemption, because at the end of the day, that bike is meant to be for the track, and I'm not going to be the guy that takes the bike, sits it in his garage, goes out there, looks at it, calls his friends over, and says, "Oh, look at my accomplishment." No, yeah, I have put my blood, sweat, and tears into this bike. I have a good amount of money into it, but the bike is made to be on the track. And honestly, if I'm going to the track now, when I go, I want to have my secondary, my 08 R1. I actually, only reason why I bought the new R1M is because I end up oil starving my engine when I lived down in Florida. I said, this is my bike. You know what? I'm going to build a race engine. I ended up pulling the engine. Took me, I got married, kids, this and that. Took me about 2.5, almost 3 years. I built this engine from the crankshaft up, lightened crank, new bearings, the whole nine. Wow. I did big boy forged pistons, con rods. I sent the head out, a $2,600 port and polished head. This thing was ready to go. The only thing that I didn't replace in this whole thing, I left the original oil pump in the system. I started this bike up. Sounds nasty. Sounds beautiful. No oil light. No nothing. I go for my first ride down the block. I hit first. I hit second. I'm grabbing gears. I hit third gear. I hit fourth gear. This thing sounded mean. All of a sudden, boom, this thing locks up. I grab the clutch immediately. Come to a stop. Long story short, I get the bike all the way back. I pulled the valve cover. I dropped about 3 valves, oil starved my top end, not a drop of oil in the top end.
Man.
It ended up being that the oil pump was bad. A bad oil pump grenaded thousands and thousands of dollars in years of work. So after that, I said, you know what? I'm done with this fucking paperweight. And then I went out and bought the baddest Yamaha that Yamaha made. And then here I am.
Gotcha. Hey, listen, man, that's the plan for the V4 too. So it's to go to tracks. I've always bucket list tracks I want to do track days on. So the goal is to do the US, and then when I'm done, put it in a crate and ship it somewhere else and go track days on it. So that's the goal for that bike. So I feel you. So you know what I mean? So that's what's up. So so now, like, what is it like going to the track for you? The times that you've gone, is it, you're stuffing everything in a caravan? Is it a truck and trailer? Like, what's your setup like?
My setup now. So I have my heart and soul, the heartbeat of my HVAC business. I have a 2023 Sprinter van. The high roof, but the 170 wheelbase, so the extended one. So it's a big behemoth. She's a big girl. But I have all Milwaukee set up. So when it's track time, I down stack literally everything out, and I can fit actually 3 bikes in that. 3 bikes in there. Yeah. And so I do everything. I do when I went down to the Tail of the Dragon, we fit 3 bikes in there, suits, this, that, the other thing. But usually when I go to tracks, sadly, I don't have any like fast boys that I'm friends with. A lot of them are like street guys that only ride street. So anytime I go to the track, I'm by myself. So I'm stacking up, I'm setting up, I'm doing everything. So, so I'm trying to find like a secondary guy that's like around where I am, that I could like hit certain places, and go. Cause then, when you have a second, that's, about the motorcycle stuff, and help set up and this, and, that's the experience a little, Yeah, but I tell you one thing, I can fit a nice little, I got a blow up mattress, little setup in the back. I got a little cabana, a little thing that I put up. So when I go, I kind of go correct. I got my, last year was my first year running slicks, tire warmers, and all that stuff. So I'm slowly trying to progress and get there. And then the next thing is to progress and start really diving into the data, because I have every bell and whistle for that R1M, and it has the data logging and all that good stuff. I've looked at it. I've done a little bit of this and that, but I would like to get, really start getting in depth, looking at this and that, and increasing my level at the data level, and learning, hey, stop whacking the throttle here, stop doing this and that. But I just need seat time as much as possible.
Yeah. I was gonna say. So, what do your street buddies think about you going to the track and stuff like that? And it sounds like you were kind of doing both from early. So, and I'm like I ride street and track as well. And there's a lot of racers who mostly just ride track only. There's a lot of street people that only ride street only. So what is it like, being someone that kind of do both? And like you mentioned already just a little bit ago, that you got friends that ride street and they don't show up to the track. So you think you can convince one of them to come to the track with you, or they just dead up like, nah, I ain't going, man?
I'm telling you, my main goal is to slowly convert as many street riders that think they're the baddest thing in the world, and then just tell them, hey, my man, just please, take the ego aside, just come to me to a track day, and just from there, just take off. And then I just want to see some little kid on a little 300 just blow them out the water in a turn, and then just open their eyes and be like, wait a second. All right, I'm not that guy, because there's a lot of guys, that think, the street's better, this and that. I've done both. Yeah. There's some very good riders on the street. Like I used to ride the canyons in California, and then, oh man, there's some bad dudes out there. But at the same time, the track, there's nothing like it in the controlled environment. That's what I'm looking for, because I've also hit a deer when I was out in where was I? I was in Tennessee, fully cranked over in the corner at about 60 miles an hour, leaning as hard as I could, and a deer's running across the street, and I hit a deer, and I'm doing cartwheels through the air as well. So, so the street is all it's all fun and games, but the controlled environment, if I'm going down, I'd rather it being 100% on me and my mistake, or a little bit, not a damn dare. You're not going to find that.
Dude, listen, the first time I got in my first motorcycle accident was with a deer in Groton, Mass, on Route 2, and it ran across the highway, and I knew in cars, like, there's animals. I don't know why I didn't think about it on a bike. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when I was thinking about getting a bike and getting ready to ride, I'm like, all these things I got to be aware of, like animal crossing the road didn't come to my mind at all until that. Oh, it does, man. And I mean, I was fortunate that I had gear on. I was fortunate that there was an ambulance and a hospital close by, and people stopped. You know what I mean? And we were doing probably 80 miles an hour. I didn't hit the deer. The first guy in line hit the deer, and his bike fell in front of my bike, and I went over my bars. And so he damn near broke his ribs. From the impact. Yeah. He had to be med lifted to a trauma hospital. So I mean, nothing was broken, thank goodness. It was just a bad bruise, you know what I'm saying?
Back a little bit,
because the deer passed away, right? So it was that kind of hit. It was hard enough. So again, I didn't think about animals. So there's a lot of things on the road that you may think that you can look out for, but there's going to be one or two things that with experience, obviously you will get there, but when you're a new rider, there are things that you're just not going to think about. And so the track helps that, because they have experienced people that are trying to teach you stuff at the track. Usually if you're sitting in a classroom, not just going to a track day, but if it's a classroom environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So let's talk about, you're a fast fan. You were on the show last week saying, you're a huge fan of MotoGP and World Superbike and stuff like that, and Moto America. What does that mean? Like how much, you're just going to all the races, you're just consuming all the information, you know everybody's birthday. What makes you or you just fast and you happen to be a fan? I mean, it could just be that.
It's fast. Anything two wheels at the highest level, I just absolutely respect. And it just happens that at the highest level, all the fast boys happen to come from either Italy or Spain. Sadly, I would love for Americans, to be up there at the top level, but I just believe here in America, we don't treat it like other countries. Other countries treat motorcycle racing like we treat football, basketball, all these main sports. And on top of it, they make it accessible. They make it a lot cheaper, and they have it as a lot of the older generation wants to put their arm around the younger guys and bring them up as fast as possible. Where in the United States, it tends to be all about money. The access really isn't there. And then you really have to, empty your pockets pretty good and be in the real right environment to make it in a certain stage. So I would like to see, the Americans, come back to the days of, the Kenny Roberts and everybody, the Schwantzes and all that good stuff. But I don't know. When I see a lot of stuff coming out, like, don't get me wrong, I do respect see the Bagger series and everything, but I do see like series like that, and in my head, it's like I would like to see us, put more into like the actual like real infrastructure of the real racing, and try to focus on the young guys into getting them on the main stage, and then eventually potentially the world stage.
Right.
I just don't see that happening too much.
Right. Well, give it time, man. I mean, I know we're working on it. I think that it's going to take some time. It's definitely not where it was, but I think it's better than it was 5-6 years ago. You know what I mean? So I do think that it is going to get better. So now, do you go to Moto America races? Do you go to the World Superbike races? You know.
I haven't been. I have the Moto America app and the World Superbike app. I watched all the races, but the ones that I've been to is just the MotoGP. Now, those are the ones that I've decided I'm going to try to. Well, starting last year primarily, and then into this year, I'm going to try to hit a track, different one every single year, if I can. Another one that's on my bucket list. I do want to go see the Isle of Man. That is something that is on my bucket list. I potentially can go next year. I met a really cool Australian guy when I went to Italy, and he goes almost every year, and he kind of knows all the spots. He knows where to stay, the packages to go to. So next year, it's either MotoGP, or if I can swing both, I'll definitely do both. But sadly, you got to work to stuff the coffers a little bit.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. You know, it's funny. That was kind of me back in 2017. I went to like 3 MotoGP rounds in a row. Then the pandemic happened, and then I started doing more track days, and then I was just like, I could probably do a track day at these tracks instead of watching MotoGP. So now it's when for that. So that's why the Penagali's here to do the track days. So, but I go to the MotoGP races once they have the B4evaKool podcast as press. So I think that's going to happen sooner than later. So I'll probably still be getting to go to MotoGP and hopefully do some track days while I'm out there too. Because riding on tracks is a whole bunch of fun. But also, I like the MotoGP races. I've been to Aston, I've been to Mugello, been to Moto America, Austin twice. And the atmospheres are a lot different in each country. I'm pretty sure between the 22 rounds, they're all a little bit different and the experience a little bit different. But it's still fun to go watch motorcycle racing, no matter where you're at, and whether it's raining or the sun is shining.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Nice. So yeah, before we get out of here, let's tell folks how they can find you, and all that fun stuff, man.
All right. Basically, my only socials, I don't have a Facebook. I just have Instagram. It's just at Fast Rider with the R1 in the middle. Other than that, my first name's Jordan. I do also, if you're in the Northeast and you're looking for a 5-star rated HVAC company, look up Higher Standard Mechanical, LLC. And then if you need boilers, water heaters, do anything with central AC, heat pumps, and mini splits. That's my jam.
I'm gonna be calling you now. I just had to change a water heater just about a month or so up that way. So definitely gonna be calling you on that. Man, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and taking the time to come on and tell your story, man. My name is Rex45. It's the B4evaKool podcast. We have Jordan from Fast Life, or Jordan is Fast Life, or Fast Rider.
My man, thanks for having me.
Peace.